All right. All right.
It's your pal OMEB. We're going to try.
So maybe that's working. I don't know. Okay, I think we're working now because I turned on the audio on Facebook and I could hear myself. So
Well, cool.
if you're watching
awesome.
out in Facebook land, let us know if you can hear both of us. Hopefully this is fixed now. At least I hope. So Sarah Beal, my sweetie, says she can hear us both.
That's good news.
Bless technology.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we're going to start over. I'm your friendly neighborhood OMEB, one man electrical band for short, and I'm here with my pal, Mike Reeder.
Hello.
And Mike owns Mike's Music, The Village, or the Mike's Music in Cincinnati on Vine Street. He owns The Village down in Covington, Kentucky. And he's also in the band Chalk Eye and a few others, which we'll talk about tonight. But welcome back, Mike, for the second time today.
Whoa.
So how you feeling?
I feel good, man. I'm glad we got it to work. I'm looking forward to this.
Me too. I was getting pretty bummed that it wasn't working out. So I guess we figured out my cell phone gets angry when I try to use it as a webcam. So maybe that's my clue to buy a better webcam and not try and use my phone.
Well, I'm old school, man. In my day, we had to send Polaroids to each other.
Right.
So.
My daughter's actually got a Polaroid camera. It's making a comeback. It's like vinyl, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So Gary Sweeney says it sounds great. Perfect. That's what we want to hear.
Good news.
So
that's great.
Mike, I was talking to our mutual friend Rob Olson today.
Yeah, I spoke to Rob today too.
And one of our conversations was how there's so many cool and interesting people in Cincinnati, but it's like Cincinnati doesn't know it. And to me, you're one of those people.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, you are one of the world's biggest guitar collectors, and you're right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I just think that's amazing. And
thanks.
I'm excited with the videos that you've been doing because now it's helping that get out there because you've got Fret Buzz where you're bringing in everybody and showing off all your fine instruments. And So tell us, how did you get started in this business?
Well, I just got started by collecting and trying to find guitars that I wanted. Really, me and my wife were playing in an original band called Delight, and we actually changed the name a few times. But I was young and looking for guitars that I liked, and I just started getting obsessed with that, and it turned into a business. It's just one of those things that sort of worked itself out. We had a sort of a flea market in the basement of our house called Mike's Music and Flea, and then that became pretty quickly Mike's Music, and we got rid of all the all the other stuff, the beds and the flea market stuff, and just started really buying and selling guitars. And when I got involved with the vintage world, everything kind of changed. I became kind of obsessed with that. So when I started attending guitar shows, I just really focused on that for a long time in my life, and now I'm finally getting back to the other part, which is like production and playing and boring the actual playing, which is how it all started. It's been a cool ride. We're going on, next year will be 30 years for Mike's Music.
Wow, that's incredible. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks, yeah.
So when did you move down to Vine Street? How long has that been?
Vine Street, I always get this wrong. The first store opened in 91, and I believe we opened Vine Street in 93. So we had two stores open, my original house store and the Vine Street store was open together for a few years. And then eventually I bought that store and on Vine Street, and it became 3 floors, and I closed the one in my house. So, somewhere 2 or 3 is when we opened that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Jimmy D's was still there at the same time.
Oh, really?
We were open like 4 buildings apart from each other for, a few years.
Wow. And that's where I met you, and I think I met you at the store maybe around 2001 or 2002. And that's when I had a 1990 Studio, which was my only Gibson at the time. And the strap lock got turned around and it popped off and it snapped the headstock off.
Oh.
So I brought it down to you to repair.
Gotcha.
And while I was in there, I saw the burst that I've got, the Cherry Sunburst, the Classic Premium Plus.
Oh, okay.
So
wow, you've had it that long. That's wild.
Yeah, so I bought that from you probably around somewhere 2002, 2004, somewhere back. It's so long now, I can't remember.
Oh, good move.
But that went on to become my main instrument because I loved the guitar so much. And
yeah.
A fun story about that is about 3 months after I bought it off of you, this guy was at one of my gigs. I was playing at Addie's or Adis's up on Beachmont. And this guy came up to me and he just said a number. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, that's the serial number. And I looked at the back of the headstock and I said, well, how'd you know that? Because I sold that to Mike Reeder. I thought, no, you didn't. And he offered me like $3,000 that night to buy it back.
Oh,
he said,
wow.
that's my biggest regret selling this guitar. Will you sell it back to me? And I said, nope. It's the one.
Oh, that's great, man.
But
I'm glad it worked. That's a joy when I hear that. Luckily, been doing this long enough to see like players grow and become really great like you are now, and that's part of the joy doing it. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing Fret Buzz. Is with the pandemic and everything, I wanted people to have an outlet for their music. And, sharing the love of guitars and stuff, you know what I mean?
Well, absolutely. And
yeah.
Cody Hicks, he's watching, and he said, congratulations on 30 years. And Gary Sweeney asks how you came up with the store name.
I just wanted something simple, and that certainly is simple. I can't say if I had to do it over now, it would be that. But it seemed logical. Like I said, we had Mike's Music and Flea first.
Mm-hmm.
So we chopped off the Flea, basically. Somewhere I have like the original flyer for Mike's Music and Flea, and it looked kind of like the Morley guy with the big bell bottoms.
Yeah.
It was, I think I drawed it in high school, or my buddy did, or something. So that's how it became Mike's Music. Is just we got rid of the Flea, and it just became Mike's Music. We were kind of already sort of established by that time. Back then, there wasn't that many places where you could find cool used guitars in the store. It was more just like paper and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Well, let's talk about Fret Buzz a little bit. You brought it up.
Okay, sure. Yeah, we just did the 17th episode. And we shot last Sunday. It was the first one we've done in, God, I don't know how many months. It's been too long. Because of COVID, we stopped shooting. But yeah, man, it's a blast. A bunch of friends get together. We drink coffee. We, everybody plays the tune of their original song, and then we and I bring the guitar in, and then we discuss the cool guitar and, you know, talk about what's going on. And my buddy William Weber is my co-host, and he's always a nut, and it's, you know, pretty free flowing. You know what I'm saying? Think Firmwood Tonight with like some gear talk, you know, that kind of deal.
And that's why it's so fun, because to me it's always interesting watching the group of players that really have nothing to do with each other all get together and share their experiences.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, and that was on purpose. The original intention of the show was, you know, I was thinking, you know, I know all these interesting people, and each one is like a character, right? And it would be nice to get together with these people, and everyone has the equal joy of loving guitars. All the people I know, and you know, they could be, you know, a teenage girl, or, you know, a 65-year-old dude, and it's, you know, everybody has that in common, and we just get those people together, and often they're characters, and it, you know, it results in a good time and hopefully some funniness.
Well, there's always funniness, and some of that's to do with Elton's quirky editing, I think.
Yeah. The editing process is an interesting thing too. Yeah, me and Elton do most of that editing together, and you know, he's been completely amazing at it, and I couldn't do it without him, really. He's turned into like the director and my co-editor, and you know, basically runs a lot of the cameras too. We have 2 or 3 other camera people that are really help out. Rachel Foxworthy helps us with camera. Jason Roll helps, and we also have Wayne Littmer, who comes in photography and takes all the photography for us. And it's worked out great, man. It's been great.
Well, I know I enjoy watching them. If you had to pick, who would be some of your top guests? I know they're all top players, but which ones stick in your mind?
Maybe just because we've started this thing where we make artist vignettes or artist segments, which is basically their portion of the show released on its own. And we just did Scotty Bratcher, and that was Scotty was amazing. That show, actually, I think that was episode 15, maybe. That show was an amazing show. It was Noah Hunt and Scotty, and you know, those guys were just absolutely amazing. Scotty was, you know, the whole show was hilarious. Jimmy D was on there, and he was really, really funny too. I mean, that was a good show. I mean, you know, Rob Fetters was on the first show. Lucky to have him as a friend, man. And, you know, he's been like one of my heroes my whole life. So having him on was a thrill. It's weird, you know, to go back and watch the first shows. It's been almost 2 years. It actually has been 2 years now. The first ones, we hadn't figured out the lighting and all that stuff, and they're much more primitive. But I still think the spirit of the show comes across. And you know, I remember the first show. I didn't really think about things like putting new strings on. You would think putting new strings on is a good idea, but not necessarily, because if you put new strings on like right before you shoot, it's going to go out of tune.
Right.
So Rob was going out of tune the whole time. So we had his scene, and I think Kelly Ritchie's scene were the only 2 scenes we ever had to start over. It was mainly just his guitar tunings. Wow. Yeah, I mean, there's been so many. I mean, we've had 3 to 5 artists on every episode. So times 17, and there's just so many things that, you know, have been awesome. Erin Coburn came. She was on the first show, and she had prom the night before. So she came in her prom dress, like she'd been up all night long. So, you know, she's also an amazing player. Another thing to stick out is, you know, songwriter stuff, storytelling stuff. I think Maurice Mattei was really amazing. He played an amazing song. The newbies were great. There's been a lot, man. You know, it's been a good time.
Yeah, it's for me. It's been fun watching all these players get together, and you know, hearing the stories they tell. And you know, I have a Scotty Bratcher story, because when he was maybe 15 or 16, first getting started, he was always playing at Charlie's Throttle Stop up at Fairfield.
Yeah, he talks about that on the show, actually.
And And I played at Charlie's every Thursday and Sunday for some of their bike stuff, and then Dallas I think played on Tuesdays. And
Wow.
so uh,
I know.
I remember I don't know that Scotty I ever met Scotty, but I remember when he was just a little kid up there shredding that guitar.
And actually, now you mention it, Dallas's uh, his song and his segment, I think, was fantastic. So I have a sort of a different perspective because I come at each song with a video in mind. So, some of the videos, I try to like represent the feeling of the song or tell the story of the song if it's that kind of a song. And, that journey gives me a different mindset because you have to listen to it over and over and that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. So, yeah, but one thing I remember about Dallas is just being blown away by his playing. I had no idea he was such a great guitarist. Because, it's like, he's amazing.
I think that's the thing that's blown me away about Dallas also, because he's such a singer-songwriter. You don't think that he's got guitar
Right?
chops. And the thing that
Yeah,
shocks me is he's got those big ass rings on his fingers, and he's just wailing down there at the picking. And I'm like, how? It's like he's the rings have just become a weighted thing that he built up his picking strength or something. But
if you watch the Scotty segment that I just put up, you'll notice he's got so much jewelry on. I mean, he has like this gigantic bracelet on. It's like huge. The same deal. But yeah, I mean, it's been fun. Doing the production stuff is something that I started getting into from my KT shows. I spent some time in LA, and it was mostly radio production, a little bit of TV production, but I was always behind the camera or on the audio end. And then when I came back here, my friend Steve Schaefer invited me to be part of Kentucky Collectibles as an appraiser. And that involved into me having a special like once a year or so where I would interview people like Vince Gill, and that was on PBS. And then when that show went on hiatus, I decided I wanted one. So it was sort of perfect timing with the studio getting kicked up for me to transition over to our Village YouTube page, start doing our own shows. So that's sort of how that evolved, is I wanted to keep that flow going. We have other shows too. We have a show called Guitar Pickers, which is basically where a lot of it is where you travel around and I'm finding cool guitars, I'm buying guitars, but it's also talking to other, it could be a Rockstars in the guitars. We just did a Charlie Starr one, which is not released, but it's coming up hopefully in a month or two. We went to the Songbirds Museum. Me and William went out west and we did a couple episodes. One of them was with Dave Amato. So, it's been really fun. And, now I feel like we're gotten pretty good at it and we're going to have a lot more of that stuff to come. Sure. We also have Live at the Village too, which is another show we do, which we do on the stage here. And it's sort of like, think Austin City Limits, where we have a band play and then I do a short interview with them.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully when things open up, that will be a live audience participation thing where we'll have live people in the theater downstairs while we shoot. So that's sort of where we're heading with things.
Well, that'd be a lot of fun. And that's kind of an old school TV throwback, having a live audience.
Yeah, and you know what? We got to get you on one of the shows for sure. I can't wait to have you on. We've talked. I'm going to tie you down this time.
I appreciate it. I'd love to. I think it'd be a lot of fun. My problem is, I'm sure you see, I just stay so busy with all that I do. The only time I'm not doing anything is when I'm sleeping, it seems.
Well, that's why we do it. We shoot it. We start at like 9:30 or 10 on Sunday morning. And that's part of the deal, is most musicians are completely fried on Sunday morning. And we get together, we drink a bunch of coffee. And it's like part of the theme of the show, actually, is come in all burnt out. So
we're working off the buzz on fret buzz.
I will say sometimes it's not just coffee that's in the mugs, man.
All right.
Some people have put other things there.
All right, sign me up. I'm ready. So we've been talking about the Village a lot, but what made you want to get into that business?
Well, I fell in love with this theater that down here, and the initial idea was exactly what we're doing now. When I bought this place, it was called Hayes Brothers Music. He had live shows going downstairs in the theater. His store was just the front room, which was, I guess, the lounge of the movie theater originally, and or where the box office was. And then upstairs, he had a recording studio. So really, it's what we're doing now is not changed from what he was doing when we moved here. It's just Mike's music is it's one of those things that just was like a giant wheel that just took over everything. It worked so good. It just took all my time and energy and everything I had to do that, and luckily we've been successful enough now I can kind of step away from that, and I have a good enough crew and good enough repair guys and everything to where I can distance from it a little bit. It just took a long time. I play in another band called the Mud Pies, and Mark Ray is the guitarist. We played together like 25 years together. And he was the manager here in Covington, and he also teaches theater. So this has always been on the back burner. It's just with the store being so busy that it just never was one of those things that could evolve. And Mark decided to go back to teaching school, teaching theater again. And when he did, I took that opportunity to just shut everything down. I sold a lot of the inventory that was here and said, we're going to do it now, So that's sort of when it happened. That was about 3 years ago at this point. And Brian Lovey came in. He was like the first studio engineer I had, studio manager, and he helped me kind of get the studio going up again. And we moved things around and just got it going. That took us about 6 to 8 months to kind of get kicking. And then, now we have, 3-4 great engineers. Elton's here working. We have Mike Tukolvy. We have Mike Wojciechowicz. I'm still doing some stuff here. Plus, we're doing all the video work here. So, we're really, it's starting to feel like a village. It's starting to feel like, people are wanting to come, and we're doing a lot of recordings. Things are working out. We just did a song that was voted like #1 on a chart, one of Elton's clients. One of the videos that I did for Kelly Ritchie was voted best alternative video of the year. So really enjoying doing it, and that's where a lot of my love is going right now. I mean, I still love guitars every day. I do it, but trying to step back from the retail end of that a little bit.
The thing that I find so surprising is you have a thriving recording studio in an era where recording studios are dying.
Well, it just depends on how you define thriving. I mean, we're enjoying doing it. We could always use more work. We try to make it work for the client, so it's not too expensive, especially now. So we'll find a way to get you what you need. That's one of the great things about having all the engineers I have, is not only does everyone have an expertise and we share and bounce ideas off each other. I know you know this, but when you're working in this business, there might be something that you really love doing, a certain style you really love doing, or you may be really good at recording acoustics or vocals or whatever. And if it's your wheelhouse, you might want to do it, sort of as on a discount or whatever. So we'll make it work for people, and that's part of what's been happening. And I'm real excited about it.
Well, I'm excited for you because it's so cool seeing someone evolve into something new. And that's been the one thing I've constantly had to do over the last 17 years now, is I always feel like I'm reinventing myself into something new in order to keep going. And that's what I love here is you've reinvented yourself and you've done it successfully.
Well, we still got a long way to go. I mean, the stores have been sort of sponsoring the TV shows, which is basically they're helping pay all the workers. Mike's Music is, and we had a few sponsors for the first year, which due to COVID, we basically don't anymore. So one of the things I like to do is appeal to anybody that wants to be part of the music community, any businesses, and actually anyone who wants to learn in the studio, aren't interns or anything like that. We could always use help. And we're open for sponsors on any of the shows on the Village channel. And I do want to thank also the All Guitar Network, who have had our shows on there the whole time too. My buddy Mark out in LA, he's really helped us too. We're finally up over 1,000 subscribers on our page, and it's due to everyone's support.
Yeah, and I get that, and it's been a struggle for me because I once had a YouTube page that was monetized, and then when they changed the rules a few years ago, because I never really spent much time on YouTube, I was building up Facebook. So I only had maybe 200 subscribers, which to me doesn't make sense, because you look at my Facebook page, there's 8,500, 9,000 people that follow me there. Then you look at my personal page, which is about 5,000, but only 1,500 of those even like my page. So it's been odd because I haven't been able to convert any of these people over to my YouTube channel.
YouTube is tough. I mean, my reach with all my pages is 30, 40,000 people with the Mike's Music page and the bands and all that stuff. And I try to convert those over to YouTube. And for some reason, subscribing to YouTube is something people don't do. They'll go and watch the videos. Me and Bill, the Chalk Guy, we did a live show, and we had like 4,000 people watch it, but no one will subscribe to the Village page, but don't watch the show. It's one of those things. And you know what? I gave up on caring about the monetization because it's basically nothing anyway. My goal is to just have enough subscribers that watch the material, so when we do have people on, the bands get seen, because that's what's important to me, is that people have an outlet to share their original music, and me too, not just them, but I wanted it to be more of a community, and that's why we named it the Village, is we wanted it to be a community for music lovers, and people who love guitars, and that is the real goal. Because to monetize now, you have to have over 1,000 subscribers, and I think you have to have over 2,000 watch hours and a whole bunch of stuff like that, and then it basically results in a few pennies anyway. So
yeah, that's actually what I did my PhD research on, was looking at how streaming companies were paying independent artists.
Right.
And that's a whole nother show for sure. But
right.
You're right. It is like 0.3 of a penny per stream, and
I just want to reach people. That's my goal. And I want it to be appealing to the artists as well, because we put a lot of time and energy and love into the things we do. And I don't know about you, but I can share something goofy on Facebook as a joke, and it can get hundreds of hits. And then you put a song up that you spent years on, and you're lucky to get equal. So I grew up in a time like in the 80s and 90s where other bands would kind of support each other, and we would all sort of share things, and go, even people in different genres would go out and watch each other's bands. And like Short Vine, where I was at, would have 6 bands playing every night, in different clubs. So I think that if people realize that and support each other a lot more, it's going to help everybody. That we have to do it. Otherwise, the art's going to die.
And that's one thing I do when I'm scrolling. If I see somebody, like you or another band, if I see you've posted something, if I don't have time to look at it, I'll still interact with the post. I'll still give it a like or a comment.
Yeah.
Just to give some action to it, because I know I'm in the same boat. I look at some of these big collaborations I've done with like Todd Zuckerman or Vinny Appice, and I've spent thousands of dollars producing one song, and nobody watches it. And that's what I find shocking. But then I post a stupid meme, and then hundreds. It's like, really?
Yeah, I know. I think it's. I'm not sure why things like that happen. I think some of it is the algorithms, and all that kind of stuff. But it is what it is, and I'm in a spot in my life where I'm just producing for the sake of joy. If I don't like doing it, I just really don't get involved. But I can't do something that I'm not fully devoted to. It's just it's just where I am right now. You know what I mean?
Well, and you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think I've reached that point too. Is part of the reason I do the recording is to catalog what I've done, because I'm reaching a point that those skills are going to start declining just because I'm getting older. My throat's starting to go. Screaming Axl for 4 hours isn't happening like it used to. So
Right.
for me, it's about cataloging what I've done, and I do it for myself. And if somebody else likes it, great. If not, I've amused myself, really.
Oh, exactly. That's right. You know, in the original world, sometimes I just kind of have to capture something, because if I don't, it's probably gone. you know, and sometimes it can be very quick. I mean, a lot of the stuff me and Bill do, it's almost like a live recording. Some of the stuff we did. I mean, we went in the studio. We did this song called Sally McCallister, and really it was just a rough idea. We pretty much wrote the song in the studio and recorded it that day, and that became what the song is. And then on the other hand, I have this song called Firefly, which I literally took a year to do. I mean, we spent 2 weeks just doing the master to make it sound the way I wanted it to. So, it's one of those things to where, luckily I have the ability to do that now, and hopefully share that with some other people, that also wanted to do it. So.
Well, I do enjoy what you do. I like your I like your music videos that throw back to all the old black and white TV shows, and
Yeah, that silly one was definitely that way. Yeah. It was weird with the Firefly video. We used scenes from Metropolis, and basically because the original idea for that song, and I still have the footage, was to do sort of like behind the scenes, the making of, because I have studio footage of it, but because of COVID and the fact we couldn't shoot. Can you hear that? Sorry.
Yeah.
That's the store trying to get a hold of me. Anyway, because we couldn't shoot, I ended up doing the other thing, doing the video.
Yeah, that's cool. You're a popular man.
Yeah, well, somebody's probably trying to sell me something.
Well, hopefully it's a Les Paul. I know you're a Les Paul man.
Oh yeah, I love Les Pauls.
So talk about what your collaboration with Gibson and the Reader Burst.
Oh yeah, that was great. That came pretty much. That happened because my friend Ed King and Greg Martin, and they had their own guitar. And at that time, Gibson was starting this new Collector's Choice series, and we're all like Les Paul 50s Les Paul freaks. We all love them. So the people that are in that world kind of know where they are. And I believe it was Greg that hooked me up originally with Gibson. And they were going to do a few of my guitars. They actually took 3 of them. And they ended up doing the one that's also known as Snake, which at one point belonged to Brad Whitford a long time ago. So that's how that came around. Yeah, that was great. It was being a Gibson fanatic and a Les Paul collector. It was really cool to have my name on one. So it meant a lot to me.
Absolutely, it's
yeah.
Probably the coolest thing ever. When you were posting about that, I thought, man, if I could ever reach such a cool point in my life to have a Les Paul named after me.
Well, it was about the guitar. I have no illusions it was about me, but yeah, it was a super thrill.
Yeah, it was a beautiful guitar. It is a beautiful guitar.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is. It's one of my favorite guitars I've ever had. And I really love it, man. It's super, super cool. And, you know, of the 3 I took down there, I was glad that they chose to do that one.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
It's a 59. It's a 59. It's serial number 90799, which is one of the more flamey ones ever made. And if you've ever seen Ace Frehley's, it looks really very similar to Ace Frehley's guitar. Same kind of chevron flame. Yeah.
I love it. Hopefully I'll get to touch it one day and some of those juices will rub off.
You know, I was just thinking the other day when I was thinking about guitars for fret buzz, we've never had a real burst on fret buzz. And I was just sort of thinking, you know, who would be a good person to play one. So it's you, man.
I
appreciate come in
that.
We'll put that one in your hand.
Cool.
Seriously.
And whiskey, right? Whiskey and coffee. And
well, that's up to you. You can't have too much if you're going to play that guitar.
No, right. Now, the thing that's funny is I've never really been a drinker ever. You know, if you see me drinking at a show, I'm sipping on whiskey because it numbs my throat. That's really the only reason I drink at a show, other than, you know, if people bring me a mini beer, but that's not really drinking. But yeah, for me as a singer, and the stuff I sing, and you know, having to play a 4-hour show by myself, it's demanding to get through all that stuff. So I've found just sipping on some Jack Daniels when I start to get tired numbs my throat enough to push it through the night.
Oh, it'll numb things for sure.
Yeah, I don't get comfortably numb because, you know, I don't want to drop any of my guitars. God knows I've spent enough on those. And
yeah.
You should tell Sarah right now that I need a new guitar. She's watching.
Oh, yeah. I think you need to tell her that, not me.
All right. All right. I was looking for some help, but so who were some of your big influences when you were growing up, first starting to play? Yeah, musically.
I've always been a Who fanatic. I mean, I originally started playing guitar, but you know, I quickly became a bass player, and you know, John Entwistle is like a god.
Yeah.
So I've always been lucky to have incredible guitar players in my band, like way better than me. So, I mean, partly that's, I think I'm pretty good at bass. So that became my home. And I was a fan of songwriting. I like songwriters. So, you know, my Bob Marley, John Lennon, I like, you know, song-oriented music mostly. You know, I like folky kind of stuff too, like Lynn Wainwright III. That kind of thing is kind of the stuff I was into. Dylan, I'm a huge Dylan fan. But, you know, I played in high school band too, and, you know, I was like Gershwin, and I like a wide variety of different things, you know what I'm saying? Musically, you know, when I was younger, I played in a lot of what you would call cover bands, you know, set in a lot and that kind of thing. So it's sort of like how I learned the feel of things, is playing songs I didn't know, or, you know, being thrown up there on the spur of the moment kind of thing. But you know, influences wise, you know, if you hear my stuff, I think it's a wide variety from, you know, electric light orchestra all the way down to super primitive stuff like, you know, single guitar player, songwriter things. You know, I have a part of me that's sort of producing kind of side, and then I also have a part of me that really just likes the raw capture. Like a lot of Dylan albums were done that day, the whole album. You know? Mm-hmm. I like that. I think a lot of spirit can be captured that way without overproducing. I think sometimes when you overproduce, you lose a lot of the initial concept of the song, especially if it's like a storytelling song. But, you know, that being said, I also really like things like ELO, like I said, and, you know, big giant Beatle productions, and I love things like that too, you know.
ELO is actually one of my favorite bands. And
oh, really?
Yeah, I do a few ELO songs at my
Amazing.
shows.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I do like
I
"Don't
mean,
Bring Me
people think
Down" and
like,
go ahead.
I was just saying. I mean, I that would probably surprise people that play music with me because, you know, I grew up like playing in punk bands and doing that kind of really kind of loud, obnoxious type stuff. I did a lot of that too, but I also played in, you know, what I call wedding bands, you know, and played, you know, charts. So, um, you know, I have appreciation for a lot of different styles, but you know, my heart's basically in hard rock kind of stuff for the most part, and songwriters type things.
Yeah, I'm into the Kevin Connor says hi. He's
Hey, man.
um, but I'm kind of the same way. I have this there's this illusion that I'm Mr. Heavy Metal, but when I write a lot of my music, it's ballad, like '80s ballads or something. I like
Right.
telling
I
the
can do
stories
that. I mean, yeah.
and
Do you play piano?
sorry.
Do you play piano?
Um, I can play enough to beat around on chords, but
Gotcha.
when
But
I
right.
want when I want piano tracks, I call Jim Cuesta and get it done right.
I just didn't know if you ever wrote songs on piano or not.
I've written. See, this is where my background's interesting because I was classically trained as a trumpet player. So when it comes to music theory and writing for orchestra and stuff, I can do all that. So when I would sit down to write a piano part, I'd just get out like my MIDI sequencer and I'd start typing the notes out, and I'd
Yeah.
write it, physically write out the piano parts on a lot of stuff that I've done, and that's been cool because like I do a version of November Rain when I play live, and I've scored the entire orchestra to play behind me. I've literally written out every single part by ear, and you hear the entire orchestra playing along with me. It's really cool.
Oh, it's way cool.
But that's kind of one of those unknown facts about me. I don't think people realize is I've been classically trained. I went to school for music.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I went out to go to MIT. I was accepted, but I ended up blowing it off when I was in LA and just working. But um, you know, it just brought back a memory. Like I was at a guitar show up in Michigan, and Brian Setzer was putting on a seminar there, and for some reason, very few people showed up. It was like 12 people, and this was right before he started doing his big band, and he was playing an L5. And it was just like me and him and some other guitar dealers. And we were all just sort of buddies because we knew each other. And he was explaining the big band concept. I think the Stray Cats may have even still been playing together or something. And he picked up this L5 and he was like literally singing all the parts. He's like, and you know, the alto sax is doing this. And he'd be playing guitar and he'd like sing the alto part. And then he would like say, and the trumpets. And he like had all that in his head, man. You know, it's super crazy. You know, he had the whole orchestra of what each part was doing and could explain it while he was playing guitar. And it's just, I find that fascinating that somebody can be that well trained and actually, because, you know, he charts all that stuff, I'm sure, you know, on his own.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool story, and he's one of those musicians that is somewhat overlooked for how talented he is,
I think so, yeah.
but
Amazing.
incredible all around musician, 100%.
Yeah, last time I saw him, he walked in the front room of the store and threw me his wallet. He said, take it now.
Not, if I could afford to do that, I'd probably do it too. um, let's see. What what are some of your favorite performances that you've done over the years?
Me
Yeah.
personally? Well, actually, the first one that pops to mind is Chalk. I just played with the newbies at the Southgate House, and we sold out the big room, which was cool. That was a great time. Um, I used to be a promoter for this thing called the AJ Jolly Festival, where a lot of bands would come, and a lot of my bands played there. That was super cool. The first year we had like 10,000 people show up to that. You know, and there was always between 5,000 and 8,000 people at those events. Those were always great. Um, we got to play last year downtown for a festival. I can't believe I can't think of the name of it, but on the river, which was really, really cool. I love outdoor festivals, although they're certainly a challenge. I mean, I have the worst luck with weather when it comes to that, but I love playing outside personally.
Yeah, yeah. I've had a few run-ins with outdoor shows and the weather.
Yeah, you got to play at Riverbend, right? Did you open up? I think I saw you at that.
Yeah, for a while, Time Warner was sponsoring a stage out on the concourse that was giving, to open the show to locals. So I became the guy they mostly called for the big rock bands that would come in. So I got to
Yeah.
play before Kiss and Motley Crue, Journey, Megadeth, Ted.
I think it must have been the Kiss show where they were with Cheap Trick, right?
I don't know that they were with Cheap Trick.
Or maybe it was Aerosmith. Did you play for Aerosmith?
No, I didn't play the Aerosmith show.
Okay.
I think Motley Crue opened for Kiss. One of those shows.
I can't remember. I get to hook up a lot of times because I know those guys, and they'll call me when they're in town, or if they come to the store, they always let me go. Mm-hmm. So one of those bands, I definitely saw you. I thought you played on the big stage though. You played.
No,
it wasn't.
No,
okay.
there's always that stage that it was out on the concourse, and as soon as they opened the gates to start letting people in.
Gotcha. That's cool though, man. That's pretty neat.
Well, yeah, I was still playing to the same crowd that they were playing to, and it was when they were all standing in line buying their beers, so they were all paying attention to me for sure. And one of the Kiss shows, this guy kept walking around, and he was taking pictures, and I saw he had a lanyard on, but I didn't know who he was. And he did that, and he called somebody, and he's holding the phone up like this. And then after I was finished playing, he came up to me. He said, "Hey, I'm Gene Simmons, guitar tech, and I called Gene, and he came out, watched you for a while, and he said you're great, and he handed me some of Gene's guitar picks."
Oh, that's so cool, man.
So
that's super awesome.
That and Tommy Lee saw me sound checking at one of the shows because Motley Crue did a headlining show once, and I opened that one too. And he came out in his golf cart, and he's sitting there watching me play Ozzy.
Oh, that's great, man! That's so cool. Did you know he was there? Were you
Oh yeah, he parked right out in front of me with his foot propped up on the front.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
Yeah, one time the Eagles came to the store, and Joe bought some stuff, and I had to take some stuff to the show for him. And Joe had me go up on stage and play.
Wow.
They were like having rehearsal. He's like, "Play this so I can listen to it."
Wow.
I was like, I didn't even know what I played. I was like so nervous, It was like stadium or something. All the Eagles are sitting there looking at me like, "What's this dude doing?"
That's amazing.
So yeah. Oh, it's crazy.
Wow.
I have no idea of it. Of what I played. I don't even know what I played. I probably played like 3 or something.
You're playing the G chord on the 4th fret, right?
He bought the guitar. He bought the amps. They were actually amps.
Well, that's cool. Wow.
Yeah, that was cool.
So getting on to the celebrity bit, who are some of your favorite celebrities you've got to work with?
Oh, Dylan. Joe, the Eagles was a certain thrill. Fleetwood Mac. There's been in the last 30 years. There's been a lot of really cool people, man. It's been so many. It's really hard for me to say, but Zach Brown. A lot of people have been very good to me. So I hate to not say everybody, but I've made pretty good friends with like Eric Johnson. I consider him a great friend. Joe Bonamassa is a great dude. A lot of artists have came through the store. Oasis came through. Black Crowes used to come through quite a bit. Green Day. Just a lot, really, honestly. It's been a lot of cool bands that came through.
That is incredible. To be a fly on the wall for some of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a good time. You hear people. I remember a couple times, like people like was like playing songs in the acoustic room, and I recognized the song, or they'd be sort of like working out a song, and then I would hear it like later on the radio, and like wonder they figure that out in the acoustic room.
Wow.
Once John Paul Jones came, and he was in the keyboard room, and he was playing Houses of the Holy in the keyboard room on an organ, and there was nobody in there. I actually kept the little VHS videotape somewhere. I have the video camera of John Paul Jones playing in the keyboard room, playing Houses of the Holy by himself.
Oh my God, that's social media worthy. You got to find that and transfer it.
Yeah, I don't know where it is, but somewhere. I mean, that was 20 years ago, or 10, 15 years ago. He was playing at Bogart's.
Wow, man, that's incredible.
Steve Vais came in many, many times. Yeah, I mean, it's been a blast. It's been an incredible journey, and I'm totally, completely blessed by everybody bought guitars and kept us going, and I appreciate it all. So it's been one of those things. Thank the Lord, it's worked out, and I'm happy to still be doing it. I'm still having fun doing it. I still get excited when I find a cool guitar too.
Oh, I know. You're always sharing guitar porn online, and we're all enjoying it with you, I think.
Well, good, because I have no intentions of stopping. I just trying to get more things that either I've had or that I can use in the studio, and that's where my personal focus is going for the most part. Luckily, the store's I've had most of my employees have been with me for years and years and years, so they have a good idea of what to do without me doing that as much.
Well, I think that's the cool thing, that you have people like that you can trust, and you can start stepping back and doing other things you've been wanting to do for years. Actually kind of start enjoying your success a little bit.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed it. I've always made sure. I told myself when I started I wasn't going to do it if I didn't like it, and I've always enjoyed it. It's just now it's time for me to actually be able to create a little bit more than I was. So, I don't know. Being a songwriter, you can't sort of force that thing, and I think you sort of got to give yourself some space. There was a time in the early 90s where like a wave of songs sort of came to me, and then it sort of didn't for a while. And then lately it's started happening again. And I really don't know if that's the influence of being around other people doing it, or just one of those things that just happens. Sometimes the hardest things in your life can cause that kind of thing to happen. I think it kind of flips a switch, and it's been my son had cancer a few years ago, and I think that really changed me a lot.
Yeah, I remember that. And is he doing well now?
Oh, he's great. He's
perfect.
Good.
I'm glad to hear that.
Thanks.
And I think you hit a point there. For me, it's real strange with songwriting, because I just don't sit down to write a song. It's something will speak to me, and like the song I wrote called Rain Dancer, and Todd Zuckerman played on it. I came up with the intro guitar lick 5 years before I ever put anything to it, because I didn't know what to do with it. And the way the lyrics came to me is, I was looking out a second-story window watching it rain, and it was nighttime, and I was zoned out on the raindrops hitting the ground. And the idea, it was like the rain was dancing, and it just hit me, Rain Dancer, and I wrote the song within 5 minutes after seeing those raindrops. And it's just strange how something triggers you, and it just happens.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I know. Sometimes personally I'll have like a story in the back of my head, but I don't have like a hook or any way to tell the story, and I sort of have to just start writing. And me, I sort of write in a free-flowing, unconscious way, and I'll just write down the ideas and then sort of re-examine it later, tie them together, or Often it'll be the last verse that I'll write first, or that kind of thing. And like you said, sometimes you'll have an idea, and it may never evolve into something, or it may become a bridge of a song, or that kind of thing. But I love it. I love it. It's weird, it's very. I find it very. It can be sort of frustrating, but if it flows out, there's nothing more satisfying. Do you know what I mean? Because you have to learn patience, I think, with that kind of thing. Because if you try to push it, it either doesn't sound genuine, or it doesn't. It's not what it's supposed to be. So I just try to let that thing go until it sort of happens on its own. It's weird. I mean, I'm sure we've all wanted to be rock stars. It's like all my friends wanted to be rock stars. I'm 55. I just turned 55. So I think when you reach a certain age, you just realize, hell, that ain't gonna happen. It's a sort of a freedom. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, now I can just sort of do, what's given to me, instead of all those concerns that are tied up in that. So I don't know. You're still gonna be a rock star, though.
I don't know about that. I'm catching up to you, and
closest I know in this area, hanging out with the big giant rock stars on your shows and getting the killer players.
Well, it's no different than the people that you know. I've just been lucky that I've crossed paths with some cool people, and they've been accepting of me, and I think that's what's been a blessing to me. I mean, it's been a ton of money to do it, but the fact that I'm getting ready to put out another video with Todd Zuckerman. We redid that old Meatloaf song. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Oh, that's great. I love your parody stuff.
Yeah. The parody stuff too? Is that what you said?
I love it. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, the parodies are just ridiculous, and yeah,
but they're fun. They're fun. They're hilarious. Like the meat thing, I think was killer. I mean, you got huge response from that, right?
Yeah, it turned into Channel 12 picked up on it, and they wanted to interview Vinny and myself, and we set it up, and we did the interview, and then we didn't think anything was going to come out of it because they never showed it, and then I got a notification that they were going to show it that Thursday night, with the 2 days before the meat sale that was happening down at IGA. So they showed it on Channel 64. They showed it on Channel 12 3 times. Then B105 picked up on it. And then Brian Thomas on 55 KRC picked up on it. And that turned out to be the most ridiculous experience I've ever had in my life. Because, again, it's one of those things that I do something serious and it doesn't get that response, but then I make a complete ass of myself, and it blows up. And the thing that's so funny is that Vinny actually agreed to do it.
I know. It was hilarious.
And that just made it that he's the drummer from Black Sabbath doing a parody of Black Sabbath. And that was a ton of fun. And I'm glad I've got that kind of relationship with Vinny now that we can be goofy like that,
So cool, man. That's so cool. And, I think people need to laugh at themselves a little more anyway,
And that's part of the reason I started doing that for IGA is when you do marketing, if you're not entertaining people, you're not standing out above the noise. It has to be entertaining and educational. And if you just say, I've got this product on sale this weekend, nobody cares. But then I get up and do a parody of a Robert Palmer song that they're addicted to our store. Bam, everybody's loving it. And the thing is funny, that meat sale, we sold out of meat in 2 hours.
Oh, that's
I mean, in 2 hours, they did the business that they did in an entire day the year before. And 14,000 pounds of meat in 2 hours.
Well, I hope you charged him good.
Yeah, well, they take care of me. You know,
You need to get a commission.
yeah, I get paid for the stuff that I do with them, and they take care of me really well, and I really
That's
enjoy
awesome.
that. But yeah, who would have thought me? I would have turned into the grocery store marketing guru. You know.
Yeah, I know.
So, but
dude, you know, I just got a text. There's a guy that wants to sell me an old guitar, and he's out front.
Yep.
So I'm gonna have to boogie here pretty soon.
All right. Well,
I appreciate so much you having me on, Mike. It's been an absolute blast, brother.
yeah, I've enjoyed the conversation, and that's why I wanted to do this.
I didn't know this was going to happen, but I have to get this guitar.
Go buy the guitar. I want to see pictures later. Well, thanks for coming on.
Hey, so much, man. Thank you.
Any parting thoughts before you go buy a guitar?
Support this man. He's a good man. Make sure you go see his shows and support his music and get out there and watch him rock out. And please help the village and all of our shows and share and like and all that stuff. And thank you to everyone who's bought guitars from me and purchased things from Mike's Music. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike. You have a great night, and I look forward to seeing that guitar here in about an hour on Facebook.
See you, man.
Take care.
Take care.